Oh, so fast. Morning. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream office hour from Angular Singapore. So today we will have a special guest. Beeman is going to join us in the live coding section. And sorry for starting a bit late, like 2 minutes late, because I was still rushing from the park back home. And I hope you understand it. So before we get started, just let have an introduction from Beeman and
Yeah, Trung,
that's it.
thanks for having me here in Angular Singapore. It's the first time I visit Singapore virtually, but Trung was in my live stream, I think maybe a month ago.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm Beeman. I'm a software engineer. I work for the Kin Foundation, which is a cryptocurrency, and I just started last week as a technical advisor. And yeah, that's super exciting. I'm also the founder of the Angular Discord. So if you're interested in Angular and you have questions or anything, or you want people to chat with, go check out the Discord. The address is discord.gg/Angular. And yeah, next to that, I do another bunch of stuff. I got a YouTube channel called beeman.dev. I got a little promotion down here. So make sure to follow me if you like this kind of content. Here is the address. And yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be on the show.
Sure. I also very excited. I mean, I'll never really do a live coding with other person online. So let's see
There
what
you
we can
go.
do.
There you go. Well,
Yeah,
let's
so
make
be,
it. Let's make it something cool. I think you asked me to clone the source code. So if you want, I can start with sharing the screen. Or do you have other plans? We don't have really a script today, so
yeah, sure. Maybe you just go ahead and share your screen with the source code. And in the meantime, let me share your link into the chat so that people can easily find you on Twitter and also find your great YouTube channel with a lot of content.
yeah, I got.
Yep.
I'm about 40 streams in for BLS,
Oh, that's
so
a lot,
that's
man.
super exciting. And yeah,
That's a lot. So I'll just, yep. The link doesn't show up nicely. So anyway, I hope
no
people will
worries.
get it. Anyway. Yep. So the plan for today was like, so last week, for Bman to also understand, we wanted to build the artist detail. So basically, when you open the Spotify, you see a lot of album or a lot of track and stuff. And then when you click into an artist name like Michael Jackson or Bruno Mars, you can see the detail of the artist basically. So there's an avatar, there's a name, and there's the top track.
Mm-hmm.
So we will just stop at the artist detail, basically just the
Okay.
name.
Okay. No other
So
details.
yeah. So today, what I wanted to do is just continue building the page, and as I look into the Spotify API, actually you can open the I think there's artist-api.ts where you can see we have prepared some API endpoint for you.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit slow. I think that's because it's loading the
No
server
worries.
at this moment.
No worries.
And I'm going to quickly open the activity monitor so I can see if my computer is uh, having a hard time.
No worries. And
Check. It's a Friday night here, so the computer has done 1 week of hard work.
it is, yeah, thank God it's Friday. But it's like Saturday morning in Singapore, yeah. So
Saturday morning in Singapore, Saturday morning for the people at Vietnam who are also checking in, I saw.
yeah, I saw Zoom is joining. Thanks.
Yeah, but in the western part of the world, it's still Friday night, and yeah, it's getting warm here. It's summer here in Colombia.
Oh, nice. But is it that there's a winter in Colombia as well?
It's always the whole year round. It's super steady. The city where I live, it's almost the whole year 24 degrees. It's like average, so it's very nice. But then these days it's pretty hot, and I got the ventilator back here for my day-to-day work. And yeah, if I think hard, it's getting very warm.
But do you, when you think that is good, do you like have to turn on the aircon? Because when I do the headphone, over my ear. It just doesn't work for me. I need to turn on the aircon. Maybe in Singapore it's hotter.
It's no, I don't have an echo here in the house, but in generally in Colombia, where I never lived in a place with air conditioning, so it's quite all right.
Okay.
But,
Okay. I'll see.
Okay,
But-
so this one is loading, and my computer is having a hard time, and I'm not sure why. I might have to change browser if this is a thing
No, okay.
with
Take
my
your time.
browser. Using Brave here, that should be fairly good.
Oh, I'll never use Brace. Is it like new?
It should be like Chrome.
Yeah, apparently.
But I think we can already at least go into the file. So you said the artist API.
I thought it's going to be on the share thing because all of the API is I'm putting in the share so that
Okay, yeah.
yeah, I just maybe it's the idea is like from other can access all of the API needed. So there's I think that's API, yeah, that's the one.
That makes a lot of
And
sense.
yeah, so the fourth endpoint is like to get the detail. So you can see there's a get ITIS that take in the ITIS ID, which is just a string basically. And then it will give you an ITIS object full, which has the name and more, some other stuff. I think I didn't really check it out. I'll just look into it quickly. And the next one I wanted to do is like just to do the top track. So you open the page and then it will load the maybe the top 5 track that was like most play from this ITIS. I think now the UI will look a bit different. Let me see. I forgot because but if you use Spotify daily, you will notice recently they has a bit different look.
Yeah, they started changing stuff. I think they saw Angular Spotify and they wanted to change. Yeah, man, they got inspired. So these objects are coming from the API, right? So this artist object full is something from the Spotify API package on npm.
Right. Yeah. Right. It is just there's a type package for Spotify API, so I will just install it from the one like add type and then slash something. So it's like slash Spotify API, and
Nice.
you have it. Yep. So you don't have to really like manually define it because I thought about it and I think I just look for it online. So of course there's people who already define the type for us.
Yeah, very
Obviously,
nice.
it needs to be there. I think.
Yeah.
So last week I was how to say. So of course when you look, I mean we need to run it first and maybe easier to explain on the UI. But basically the whole component is like when we enter the ATIS detail, which is slash ATIS slash the ID on the URL, it just start to load a component. And I think I will call it now is what is it? I think I call it ATIS.component. Yeah, for now. And inside this component, I was using a component store. I think that's the one. It is component.ts. And inside there's store, which is just using the ngix store components. The ngix slash component store. It's not a big store. And so I wanted to ask first because if you look into the state of the ATIS, right, you will see I was extending a generic state on top. Just scroll a bit on top. So see, I was define the ATIS state, and then I was extend from generic state. And generic state is basically there's an error string, and then there is the status, which is a enum. You can go into it, but we need to wait for it a bit.
Yeah, the computer is
right.
not happy.
That's right.
It will. It will. Yeah, but we can take a look at the generic state because I can just open it here. So that should be probably here in models, I think.
Oh yeah, right.
Models and then
store maybe. Yeah.
So that's generic state, and then you have so you take in a generic literally here. That's the data status, pending loading. Yeah.
And there's an error if anything happened. But I will not do any error handling like properly for now. We will maybe have another stream so that you can share about your experience. But I generally don't have a very good experience on that. I think I will just display the error usually just right below the component. So
Right.
if you go into the ITs, there's an error. I just saw a small message and then there's a refresh button maybe.
Yeah.
Yep. So the question is, sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So the question I wanted to ask is like, because we are going to introduce the top track for an ITIS, and when we start to fetch the top track from the API, we also need a status and we also need the error thing, which is another generic state thing. So do you think we should introduce a new component store, or how do you usually manage the state in this situation?
That's a great question. I think there's two ways. There's a way how I do it, and there's a way that's ideal. And these are maybe not the same, because I think if you want to do it properly, you probably want to have a difference between the artist cannot be loading or the artist top tracks cannot be loading, and maybe even more details. Because I think if you look at the Spotify page, if you think about it, it's the artist info, which is this, and then you have the top tracks, which is which are the tracks. And then mostly after that, there's, I think, albums from this artist.
Right, that's true.
Under that, there's related artists. So if you think about it that way, I think it makes sense to have more container components which have their own artist getting in the ID and just have their own artist store, but then like a top tracks store, related artist store, album store. I think that's the ideal way, and I'm not sure. Chow is also here. Chow is one of my residents on BLS, and I think he has an opinion on this. So Chow, if you think about Spotify detail page, would you do multiple stores, just pass in the ID? Because this is something that I think, if you have like one item extra, you might pop it in here and say, this is the error for the top tracks. But if you have, I don't know, 5 different components, I don't think I have Spotify open at this moment. No, I got it closed. And I'm going to close some more stuff, by the way, just closing.
So I'll just send Joe the link so that he can join the live stream as well.
He is already on the chat at least, so he was watching 5 minutes ago. I need Chow for this kind of stuff because I don't.
Okay, sure. I also need Chow as well, because I think the way when I do it before was like I would just pack everything into the same component store, but then it will gonna be like 5 different property within the store, which is each property is going to be a separated generic state, and I am not sure if we should just keep adding more stuff into it. So
now, one thing is, at certain moment you don't want to have too much libraries, I think. So what I think, and I think on my stream we also already briefly mentioned this. I like my modules like you have it, where you only have data access feature, UI, maybe util, but this means that if you look at the state here, and for people that are not using NX, this is how you work in NX. You basically split everything up in a library, or everything. You make a lot of libraries because they're cheap to make, they're easy to change, and they can help you really make specific blocks of code that are reusable. And you prevent going into things like circular dependencies. So having libraries is great. Also, it's nice to have a little bit of a predictable structure, what I think. And what I like about the structure that I see here is that these folders, the levels that I'm opening right now, will never be larger than 4 folders, because you have data access, feature, UI, and util. And there's other people that say, you know what, I'm going to have these ones on the one level above. But this is good. For data access, I think they are generally pretty small in the front end, at least. In the back end, I find my data access libraries to grow hugely. If I build a Nest.js API, my data libraries are the fat ones. There we are, Chow on the stream. That's awesome. In my backend apps, the data access libs are big, but here I think what we could do, and probably to start out with, if Chow thinks it's a good idea as well, maybe start with a artist-top tracks store. So you prefix it artist, it's artist-top tracks store. And later artist.related artists store and artist.albums store. And that way you can basically scale it without having to create a new library for each of them. Because having to create a new library, that's like you have a store with which it's maybe 100 lines of code. It's 67. It doesn't really make sense, in my opinion, to create this whole structure for one file, 60 lines of code, because that's not the benefit. So if it were up to me, I would probably start by copying this file and calling it top-tracks.
Sure,
Like
yeah. That's what I thought as well. But
yeah.
Sure, what do you think?
And I don't, but
and I just joined, so I'm just
Oh.
watching.
I'm still just watching.
I'm just here for the NG update. So
Chow suggested on Twitter that we do a live NG update. Well, not if my computer is so slow. That's for sure. But if you can do it and send a pull request, I'll review it online.
Don't push.
So, and I'm a lazy coder, so I tend to do stuff like, okay, I just select them all. People that are not aware, Control G or Control D on VS Code, and just call this thing artist top tracks state. And then here for the artist store, I'm going to do the same, but there's only one reference, artist top tracks store. So that's a nice thing. And you're getting this thing from the route, which is nice, I think. It also might be a bit limiting. So having it come from the route is nice, but it also means this only works if you put it in a component where it's being routed to. Another way to think about it is to say, in my artist page, I'm going to open it up here because I think this should be artist component here.
Right. In
the HTML, this is probably...
Yeah, the one below, you can remove the work in progress template. You can just remove for now.
Okay, so this is where we would then probably here we would have the artist top tracks, right?
Right, that's right. Yep.
And then for now, let's consider that at some point, but that this is not now, but we want to have like related artists. So just that we have an idea of how this will look. Related artists, and then maybe
album, I think. Yeah, is it like
albums or all albums, artist albums, maybe?
Yeah, artist album.
But this is kind of nice. And so one thing is to have this top track load in the route parameters, but another thing you could consider is say, you know what, I want to do AS artist top tracks, and basically pass in the artist ID. And I think that would be my preferred way of doing it.
Right. Yeah, I think we can start with it because at the moment I'll just take it. I'll just put everything into the artist component, and of course when we start to break it down smaller, so we will need to also bring the code from the line 1 to line 15 into a separate component, and probably we need to put it into a separated thing and then just send in the ID into a component.
That's I think a great thing to look at. So this here, and I'm going to comment it out. And if the computer slows down, I'm going to start and compile it and run it. But if not, we're going to just do some blind coding and then push it up, and you can run it.
Sure. First time.
So one of the things that I always do with my component store apps, and I build a lot of them, and I build it in one way. And basically, when I learned about component store, I had Alex Okrushko, the one who is in the team that built it, the Firestore team. He was on my show and showed me around. And basically what he learned, and then what Chow and I learned talking about it and building the component store playground, which is something that's out there. This is what I've used, and I've used it ever since. I'm pretty much a developer. If something works for me, I'm not changing it. And one of the things I do, instead of having here various things, I work with a view model. So in my artist store, I have like one view model, which is nice. And then if you look at the API, then you say, oh, you know what? You just have here VM $.
Yep.
Is VM $. I think for now I'm not going to change that, but this is something I would definitely suggest, because the nice thing is then all your components start to look the same, and that's a good thing.
Right. Sure.
I really like that.
Yep.
Then with that, if my computer will let me, and if not, I'm gonna maybe switch browser or do something else. I have had this before with StreamYard.
Or use VS Code.
I'd rather fly to Singapore and use Trunk's computer. This man knows how to hurt me. But so the other structure I have is.
Oh, and by the way, I'd like to congratulate you again in person. Congratulations on the Kin Foundation.
Thanks, Chow. Thanks. I appreciate it, man. Super excited for me. And so this is the other thing that I tend to do. I put it all in one big ng container. So, and then let's for a second consider that this is your VM, your view model, and not the artist details. So this has a generic name where you say VM, and it's actually doing the double ng if. It's a new Angular syntax. It comes with Angular 12. No, it's not. But having this as a top level is kind of nice because it's also super consistent. So you can basically, if you look at a template, you can already see, it starts with ng container VM async as VM. That's a container component. This is a smart component. It has knowledge about how to load data. It's probably being routed to. There's a lot of things you can basically infer, a lot of knowledge you can infer from simply looking at these kind of things. And this is what I really like. So I'm the kind of person that I love to have these kind of things where I don't have to think about typing it. I don't have to think about, this is an artist page, this is an album page, this is a settings page, because it will all be VM $ async as VM. But there's also things to be said for having it more specific. And I think big part of personal preference. And the most important thing is being consistent throughout the app. So I will not start changing this one being VM and the rest being the other one. But these are some observations I have when I see it. And then the nice thing is then we can get rid of this ngIf here.
Right.
And we can use this artist ID right down below. This was actually the reason why I saw it, because if I want to get access to this artist.id, I want to do it like this. So these are kind of right. And this then you only have one subscription, because alternatively, you would probably do something like another async here. But I don't like having two asyncs. I try to do one ng container with an ngIf, one async pipe per smart component, and have the rest all bubble down from here.
I see. I think the reason I was doing it because the ITIS is like you need to go to the server and ask for it from Spotify API, and then when it's come back, you will have the ID. But probably we can just take the ITIS ID from the current the client application route URL.
Yeah, but this, so this component store does that, right? So this is the one that's being routed to, if I understand correctly. That's right. Yeah, this should have the routed component. So that's all nice. And then here, this artist store reads the route. And the most straightforward way would probably be to say, hey, artist top tracks also reads the route from the parameter. But this is like...
Yeah, we just can bring it upper, I think.
Yeah, and you can say, instead of here, say, hey, I'm going to say, this is going to say load artist top tracks at some point. Takes in the artist ID. Okay, that's nice. Then there's a few places to do that, but one is actually inside this component here, artist top tracks, it loads it in. So we can check the input on ng on init and pass it.
Yeah, we just pass it over.
Yeah, a few considerations. I'm not sure what is the best way to do, but if we want to get really into coding, I should really do something about my computer because this is just too slow. So I'm not sure if you can show something in the meanwhile while I switch browser
Sure.
and editor.
Okay.
Maybe
sure.
you can show the app and actually what we are looking at.
Yeah, right. That's what I thought as well. So let me just run it
I'm
locally
gonna
first.
be right back with you.
See you in a while. Joe, what do you want to share? So you watched the NG update yesterday.
Yep, I did.
So what is the new thing you wanted to share? I didn't watch it because it's too late for me. No.
I mean, the everything is in the blog post.
Oh, okay. I read it. Yep. Yep.
And of course I post that in Angular Fit now as well.
Yep. Sorry.
Post something with the roadmap as well. So yeah, everything is there. One thing though is kind of under the hood thing, but it is useful for library author. Is that they made a change to the view ref.
Oh, view reference.
Yep, the view ref is the abstract class that the embedded view ref inherit from. So on that, so you know, when we use the ng template or ng template outlet or ng component outlet, we have the option to pass in the context. So before, if we use, or if you try to use the if you try to be like the structural directive, you're gonna have to, you kind of gonna have to use like ng template outlet or ng component outlet, because the context was only a getter. You cannot set the context directly. But now that changed. So now that context on the view ref is a property, and it has a setter, so you can just set the context directly from your structural directives. You don't have to depend on any DOM element or any ng template outlet or something like that. So it's a little bit more performant and easier to write structural directive, but it's not documented, by the way.
It's a new feature in Angular 12 you were mentioning, Chow.
I was talking about the Angular team. They made a change to the view ref abstract class. That is, they made the context settable. Before it was just a getter.
Right.
So you cannot do like view container ref, create embedded view, and then you set the context. You cannot do that. Now you can just set the context. So now you can create structural directive without depending on any DOM element. You can just create your structural directive and assign the context directly. It's more of a library author thing.
Right.
So.
That's right.
Awesome. Okay, my computer is loading. So, but this is the page we're looking at. Maybe you have the real Spotify.
Yes.
In front of you, so we can have
right.
an ID.
One. Maybe someone is popular. Maybe some
Michael Jackson.
Yeah, why not? That's it. Okay. First page. So when you click into Michael Jackson, there's the
So this first part, I would say this is all artist detail. Probably Spotify gives you back monthly listeners, I think. Spotify gives you back the image, I think.
The image I have, the monthly listener, is not really something that I have. They have the follower, which is a bit different. So the two things were different.
Yeah.
But I show the number anyway. So like you look into this, there's the number of follower.
Yeah. And then interaction with the actual playlist, that might be nice. But this is the popular ones. So, and then artist pick, popular releases.
This one maybe we don't have. Probably. Yeah. And the album, that is the one here.
Yeah.
The popular release, I think it's just based on the album, and then they sort it by some kind of condition. But yeah, I'm not sure. So I was telling the guy that we just do this popular thing, and the album. That one.
Awesome. And one thing I'm curious about in the popular tracks, so the block that we're going to work on right now, if you, the see more link, what does it, where does it take you to? Another page? It extends. Okay, so
Oh, okay.
so we want to have some logic there where you say show details and show full.
Right.
But yeah, in the
Let's see.
meanwhile, it looks like my app loaded, so that's kind of nice. It loaded right here. Now I need to log in with Spotify, which I have, of course. But
Do you have premium?
Of course.
That's important, yeah. Actually, I've never really logged into an user which is a free user, so I don't know how the app is behaved for them.
I actually had to wait till one of my favorite artists was in Spotify before I started using it. I was at the moment that Spotify got popular in the Netherlands. I still live there. I listened to Frank Zappa all day, and Frank Zappa was not on Spotify, so I was like, there's no reason for me to get Spotify because I don't listen to anything else. But at some point, all his music got available there. This guy made like 80 albums. It's all there.
Wow.
So, yeah, he was pretty productive.
That's a lot, man. It is like you do every application a month in a few years. Wow.
Yeah.
Maybe comparing.
So, okay, this is working here. This definitely shows what I just listened to today. Let me share. Let me actually share.
Maybe just let me stop sharing it.
Yeah, that really helps. I think screen 1. Now, I hope this works well, because if I don't know.
Wow. What is DK? This thing. Wow.
Desan and Camion. It's instrumental music. I like it really much. It's electronic. And I like that here it gives me the Vietnamese way of... Am I going to try to pronounce it, or...
Hôm nay không cần phải ngủ sớm. It is like today you don't have to go to bed early.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's Friday night here.
It's pretty accurate. It's just in Vietnamese, like I mentioned. So only first time you got it. The second time is gonna be based on your region.
Right. So now it says fijne muziek voor de late uurtjes. Good music for the late hours. It actually, it's not a region, it's where your account got created. So my account's still tied to the Netherlands, because that's where I created it someplace.
Yeah,
it's kind of interesting where these things go to. But let's then take a look actually at an artist page. So I also see that this one has a limit in the rows.
Right. I think I never mentioned. I just haven't done the infinitive scroll mechanism.
Right.
I think it's worth a live stream, so that maybe we can just do it like from the scratch, maybe.
Right.
Okay.
But this is the page we're going to work on, and I think it's nice enough. So my screen doesn't really update very well, but if I switch around, it tends to do it. And this is then, my StreamYard doesn't really like my computer.
For some reason.
Yeah, I'm gonna quickly switch. I'm glad we don't have a agenda today, because
no worries.
That would be here. I'm gonna be here. If you can add the other one.
Just a sec, let me do it. Wow. So what's freak? Okay, I see.
There were 2 Beemans, but there's now 1. Okay, so good. Computer is fine. Screen is fine. Now we can finally start looking at it. So I think, so the component store we just created, and I think we
don't really need the maybe we don't need the first stream, the line 16, the 80s.
Actually, I'm thinking about something else, and this is something that Chao and I have been doing as well. So one of the nice things about component store is that they can inherit. So that means that the artist top track store can actually include the artist store. And the nice thing is we already have the artist here. So if we consider that the artist store will have the artist and it loads it at some point, what we can say is, hey, inside this artist store, you have your constructors here. So let me get rid of the route because we don't care about the route. We're going to say artist store. And that one is of type artist store. And I'm hoping that this will now give me some artist store. There we go.
Nice.
This one can now be loaded here. And this allows us to do some fancy things because this artist store has our artist $sign on it, right?
Right.
So what we can say is, hey, this dot load artist top track, and actually we can pass in the observable here right away.
Oh, wow.
So we can say, hey, this artist store dot artist $sign. This will work as expected, and now we don't really have to worry about how we load it or how we pass it in. So it's good that we had a bit of switch of context because all of a sudden I realized this is how I will actually do it.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
I'm going to fix this for a second because this now doesn't take the artist ID. It just takes the artist.
Maybe you can just pass in the what's that? The artist param ID, the stream, instead of passing the artist object.
We could, but then we have to do stuff here. So I'm curious what this observable is all about. It's artist object full. So this will be it. Let's see if we can get it to work,
Okay, sure.
and then
Sure.
see if we can get it nice. So this Spotify API artist object full, we can pass this thing along in the state, and we don't have to worry about how it works. So this is that one. Here, instead of this effect, we do this. And what I'm going to do briefly is comment all this stuff out right here because we ain't going to use it right now. I'm going to say artist here, log it out right here so that we have something in our console. But for now, this will be basically what it's all about. So you have a load artist top track method and you load in this thing. I just need to make sure why this is not happy, why TypeScript is not happy. It might be null.
Okay, I know. Then you can either face the top track.
That's an interesting one. Okay, let's think about this for a second, how to do this. But this is kind of a nice way to make sure that the artist track store is now not important how we load it, it's just important how we do it. And in any case, in order to display this thing, what we need to do right here is create a component. So this component, and what would your preferred place for this AS artist top tracks? Is it an artist UI?
I think it is like could be the place for now, because I don't have the preference to separate the UI and the container. Maybe we should have it, but yeah, for now I don't have it.
Where would you put it right now?
I think we need to create a new folder named UI and then we bring it out. Yeah, I think yeah.
Folder or library?
Library. Oh no, wait. So what I do is like I go to the artist folder, the one on top, and then I'll just do a new folder named UI, and then inside the UI I will create a new library.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I got you. So let me quickly go here, and this is a bit slow again, but I can pick a terminal right here, and I could just drag my terminal over. Let's have a look. Gonna put my terminal right here and just gonna build this out. So ng generate, nx generate, let's make it nx generate at narwhal Angular lib. Now, I got a few things that I always do. So this one is called top tracks, and and I actually want to peek inside your workspace JSON to see what naming you use, or you have an Angular JSON, that's fine. And I just want to check out what the naming of this thing is so that I'm staying inside. So you have web shared UI, track main info. So this thing would be nx generate narwhal Angular lib. Now what I do is start with the last part. So you have here the name library is actually track main info, and I think this is a better place to show it. This is the name of the library, and then this is actually all just where it belongs. So I would say artist top tracks probably. Directory is web shared. Now web artist
UI.
And let's dry run it for a second to see if this looks like something we would generate. And while that runs, I'm going to peek in here and see, you do typing, you do very, very well your tags. I say very well because it's my way as well. So this is why I say it's very good.
Because I was a reference from someone who is not turned on the camera in live.
Very good. Yeah. This someone seems to have a very similar opinion like I do. So that's always nice to work together. But here we go. And this would create libs web, artist, UI, artist top tracks. I think that's what we want. So we can say, okay, tags here. And I'm going to quickly, because it takes a bit, I'm going to quickly check if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm not forgetting something. So directory, something else that I always do, it's good that I check this, is giving a prefix. So prefix, and I think you're prefixing everything with AS. Is that correct?
Right, that's right.
Angular Spotify. So we're just going to pop in the prefix here as well. And this should create whatever we suggest would go here. And it should always also give us the right name. So if all goes well, then all of a sudden AS artist top tracks will be a thing that exists. Now we no longer need to pass in this artist ID, which is nice. However, we do need to make sure that this only gets rendered in a component that provides our artist store. But that's a fair contract we can make with ourselves. So while this is running, and it's running npm, I'm not sure what it's trying to do here. Let's let it go for a second. And then in the meanwhile, we can check this artist store and the artist top track store just to make sure that this one is doing the right thing. So what you suggested here was put in the ID. Is that right?
Yes, that's what I was suggesting.
Artist ID string, yeah. Okay, I can totally see why that would be a good idea. And then here, actually,
because we have this,
we have this artist, but you know what we can do? I guess pipe here, because it's an observable. Map here. Map, of course, needs to be imported. And then from the artist, take artist.id.
Okay,
now,
I think.
Now, what I'm not sure about, and we need to give it a little bit to catch up with all the things that are happening in the meanwhile. What I'm not sure about is how this works with the, let's get it from RxJS operators. I'm not really sure how this works with the undefined thing. It looks like it's still nagging. Yes, it says string cannot be assignable to artist ID string. Well, that's correct. In that case, we want to say parentheses, put it into brackets and say artist ID. Artist ID is this. Now I'm curious if this will make it all happy. And now it says, hey, but artist is potentially undefined. No.
Yeah, right.
No. I don't like strict mode at all, personally. I'm not even joking. It's a huge hassle. I understand the benefit. I'm just not a fan.
I see.
I guess One way would be to say
right.
filter artist and do a double negative of artist. And for those new to the syntax, double negative, where artist is not negative. This is basically a check if the thing exists. Now I would hope that this fixes the error. If it doesn't, I'm not sure.
I don't know what I would do is to actually just cast the artist store dot artist $sign to an observable of artist.
This one.
Yeah, I would just cast it
Like
from inside of the artist store.
Ah, right. Okay. So, yeah. Okay. So inside here, say that this is
an observable of like that. It might scream at you though.
Yeah, the select probably they say is maybe it's no, I think. Right? Oh, look fine. Oh, okay.
No, it's screaming at you.
Yeah, now it says like I'm not at least we replaced the problem to some other thing. So
Okay.
now it's up to Trunk now to fix it. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, I guess this would then be the correct way to type it, but this will probably bring the issue back to the store here. Yeah. So this is it. I think it infers it correctly, but it's just not happy about it. Another possible thing you can think about, I think, is say, you know what? I'm going to say artist ID $sign equals, and then try to figure it here. And I think we can use this .select. But really, I'm not sure what the preferred way is. And this is what I said. I understand the strict null checks, etc. I'm just not really happy with them.
Is the non-null not working?
Exactly. This thing should always be here.
Yeah, but I think that's the typing from RxJS. It doesn't really do anything, really.
Right.
In terms of TypeScript. So here, I mean, to make TypeScript happy and to actually confirm with the strict mode, I would do a ternary there for artist and artist ID. And if you don't have the artist, just put an empty string for artist ID. No, I mean like from inside as well.
Oh.
Right there, and we or an empty string, and then we can check in the load artist types tracks.
Sure. Yeah, this works.
Or filter. Yeah.
Yeah. So here you can say if it's a string, then do nothing. If it's just an empty string, do nothing. And otherwise,
or we can do a filter right here. So like filter on line 19.
Yeah, I like that idea as well. So getting the filter right here, and then inside this one, first thing we do is filter it out.
Yep.
If this one not equals string.
Yep. No, the artist dot artist ID because
Yep. Let this one go here, and this should go. No typing errors. I love it. Okay. Somehow it ran a whole package install. I don't know why. I run npm install while I set this one up, but it's all good. It created a UI folder here, and inside it created artist top tracks, and now we have a module here. So lazy B, I'm going to take the file name here, and if it lets me, I'm going to take the file name here and going to create a component with exactly the same name. Because the other alternative is run an ng-generate to do this stuff, but let's not tempt it too much at this moment. Because the computer is already very busy. So I'm going to create a component by hand here.
Sure.
If it will let me.
But like, just one question, like usually do you prefer to do a simple module name or you do the full thing?
So What I think in a mono repo, ideally, all your files that actually have code should have a unique name. So that's the first. Of course, you have a lot of index.js, package.json, ESLintRC, jestconfig, and anything basically. But I see this. This is basically for me. This is your SDK, if you will. This is what you need in order to build your software. So I see this as SDK. It gets generated. You don't manage it by hand. You don't go in there typically to change stuff. So this is kind of like your SDK. Everything that's not your SDK, according to that logic, should have a unique name where possible. Okay. So with that respect, yes, component. And
sure.
Then you can look at this one where I said, hey, it's going to be artist top tracks, but artist is already in the name. So you could say web artist UI top tracks would also be a valid name, would probably arguably be a better name for the thing. But with a monorepo, with an X, you're going to have a bunch of files, and you're going to have a lot more files than any other solution. And this is also why you need to learn how to use your editor well in terms of doing lookups. Have your editor search for you. In VS Code, it's Ctrl-Shift-P. In WebStorm or IntelliJ, it's double-shift. You want to look up your files. You don't want to go in there and think about or browse where your files is. We do it a little bit. It's okay for learning purposes. But if you're working, if you're grinding out code, if you're just on yourself focusing, use the search to help you do your files. And these things are also smart because you see it also has the most recently used files here. So if you are in the mood, you can basically say double shift and move back to the artist store here. And it also often have fuzzy search. So you can say artist, top, track.
Yeah, I also use it a lot of time.
Yeah, so this is essential with a big monorepo. And one of the big arguments against it, if you introduce new teams to using NX, it's like, yeah, it's a bunch of files and now I can stop. I don't know longer where it is. You can do so by having unique names and by using your browser to its best, or your editor to its best for these kind of things. So then here, let's first make this one happy and declare it in the module. So we're going to do declaration here. Now, another thing I'm also very, very keen on is using workspace generators. And you have none, which most projects don't. So I tend to have a workspace generator, which is basically a schematic that you run in your workspace. And I would have one for my UI libraries. I would have one for my feature components. And I do a lot of full stack, so I also have them for the backend.
Right.
Which gets me to the point where I can just say, hey, generate the CRUD for, let's say, artist, and it will create my API artist data access, API artist feature, web artist data access, web artist feature. It will generate it all, including my component store. So I just generate a component store that's simple enough to be useful, and still you don't have to do it all by hand, which I think helps a lot.
I see. Yeah. Now I understand the powerful, right? It's much better because usually when I do generating a library, I still need to manually define a component. So you can say just do it in one shot. You have a library with a component in it, which shorten time a bit for sure. Yeah.
And these things can be chained. So you can have a chain of these things all together. And I'm doing something wrong here. No, it's not wrong. It's just not catching up. So you can have a chain of these generators. So start with the smallest one. Start with the simplest one, like your UI libs.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then start with the feature, start with data access, and then you can say, oh, all these three things together, I'm going to always execute the three. I build a lot of admin applications, so I say, I always have a list, an admin, an edit view, and a
detail and stuff.
Yeah. Just wire it all up and make it simple enough that you don't have to delete a bunch of code, but that it's at least useful. And this can get you so up to speed with your development. So what I'm going to go ahead and I'm again browsing. Old habits die hard. So if I uncomment this one, I hope it to bubble up and give it the little squiggly lines here. It does.
Yep.
And this allows me to auto import it. So I can now say, oh, I need to export it. So this is a WebStorm for you. It's not exported right now. But
Right.
it sees this. So what we can do is say, okay, export it first, and it will then be importable. So now we can say it should export it here. Did do that? Yes, okay. And now we get back. And now it says, oh, I can import it. I can import the whole module. And then our artist module here now imported our web artist UI artist top tracks module, which is a whole name full of artists. And then another thing I wanted to do here, so I'm going to export this one in your what is it called, the barrel file here.
Yeah, the barrel. Yep.
Yep. And then artist top track store gets loaded into our constructor right here. So we're going to put it in the constructor. And if you let me, I'm going to do this in my style. It will be a bit different, but always inject, always private read only. I'm also always going to call it store, because this thing will never have another store. So we can say artist store, but we also can just say store.
Sure. Nice. Thanks.
I'm lazy and clean like that. But these are typically things that you have a lot of discussion about on Teams, and I'm kind of violating. I think you should be consistent, but I'm just going to do a few things that I think make it good. So this is where I would subscribe to the view model, and then I'm going to say read only. VM $ is this.store.vm $. This one doesn't exist, so we want to go here and say VM $ is this.select. We're going to say state.state. And that's what are we going to do? Let's do data for now.
Okay.
We'll at least have something. And I'm not doing it right here. I'm not doing it. So what Chow and I started doing, and what I still like, is having each individual one. So that's nice. And here's the magic where you can say, okay, this.data, this one is going to be out there as data.
Okay.
So this is, if you work with the global store, NGRX global store, you also know that this one, you can have multiple selects here, and you can basically combine them here and do actually render logic inside here.
Yep.
So yeah, right there. So let's assume that data can be null or can be undefined. And instead of like doing ngIf, not data on a template, you can do has data. Yeah, and then do your logic in, and you could just use ngIf has data on the template. Also, I would add debounce true to the VM. So there's a third argument to the VM.
Yeah.
And I would turn debounce on for the VM or whatever object that you expose to the template.
So let's we're gonna do I think we're gonna do the loading property. That's another nice one that I tend to calculate. And for instance, empty state, because I only want the template to say, hey, I got empty if you're not loading. Just saying if your data is empty is not enough, because then you get to the page, then it says, hey, it's empty while you're actually loading.
Right.
And then it goes to loading.
Yep.
So there's a few things. And one of the things I'm going to do right here, which is a bit ugly maybe, I'm going to add some empty comments. This is just to make sure that Prettier doesn't reorganize it all. Otherwise, Prettier puts it all in one line like this, and that's fine in your own code. But here for the live stream, it's probably easier to do it this way. So I'm going to close this one, and I'm going to close the module, which we no longer need. And now we can say VM $ async SVM. And then here, another thing I do all day, pre-tag, the pre-tag something pipe to JSON. This is one of these two lines are definitely my most written lines ever in Angular. And it's also the thing I miss a lot in React, basically. I just talked about Chow last week. If only React had this one and the pipe, it would be my favorite framework. But now it's...
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we have some pages and we have some things here. Let's just see if this at all renders. And I'm going to go back to here, put the inspect. If I'm mentoring somebody and they don't have the debugger open while they're coding, they owe me $1. This is also a good habit. So start charging people if they need to put it open, because otherwise you're blind. So we have a circular dependency, and let's see. Libs artist data access store.
I think because you import the artist store in your artist top track store, you import the artist store by the by that instead of
So we can just change that one up here. There we go, and see how it's recompiling, and I would expect it to appear right here. I'm going to add a little more debug code here and just say top tracks for a second, just to make sure that we're on the right, looking at the right thing, because you never know. It's compiling, and can I refresh already? Is that fixed? Because I know when you were in my...
No, it's not.
Okay, so I need to fix the artist again. I think you need to invite Chow a couple of times. He always helps me fix my stuff that I...
Of course, I wanted to, but I know he's busy with the other stuff. We talk about it for a long time. We want to refactoring some stuff together, but okay. Let's move on.
So, cool. Okay. So, few things. Top tracks appeared. This is my component. Has data is false. Yeah, at least we're on track of doing something. And I think it's a nice call to do this artist stuff and not passing it in using an input. Now, one thing we had was having this logged out to the console. So I put a debugging into the console log, and we can use this ID. So this lives in our new store that we built. I'm going to bump it up a little bit for the people who are checking. But this artist ID, this is the one that we can now use to load top tracks. And our component store, the only dependency that it has is that it's loaded inside components where artist store is being provided. So that means, so one thing that we can already say is, hey, loading is going to have their own thing. And another thing that you always have on there is error. Now, if you think about automating this, what is the loading property? Status. Status is way better. Yeah, doing status is way better than doing loading. So if you think about generating this is so consistent, which is good. So you can already generate your view model and maybe even have a common class where you say, hey, I'm just going to extend my generic component store, pass in my state here, and these three things will already be provided for you. This is definitely something I could see having its benefits.
I see.
Now, another thing I'm always keen on is alphabetical order. If you don't have any reason to put it in random order, pick alphabetical. So this would be data error status. That's then the only right way, because if there's no significance into your order, it should be alphabetic. And depending on the project where I'm at, this is kind of things. If we were in a team and I would be the lead, then I would deny your pull request for it. If I'm in an open source project, I don't. But just sharing a few habits and thoughts here. Now, when I see this, we should see these three, error, data error, and status, on the page appear here when it refreshes. So it's recompiling. And I hope this goes nice.
I hope so as well.
And otherwise, I'm just gonna refresh it. It was just there.
Yeah, I saw what it is.
I'm not used to refresh not working. Sorry, man.
No worries.
Yeah.
I think the hot module, I don't think it's still working fine somehow.
And I think it's mostly my computer that still doesn't like StreamYard. So
Yeah, I can see it, but I think it is understandable for people watching.
that's good. And for you, it's Saturday
Yeah.
morning, so people are relaxed, and for us, it's Friday evening, so everybody's relaxed.
Skin Foundation is gonna send you a new computer.
No, we didn't discuss it.
No, as long as they send you just maybe 3K to get a new laptop, that's not good enough. They don't have to.
Just this, they will send me some kin, I'm sure.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So, okay, at least we see our error. We see we don't have an error. We see that it's still loading state. Well, yeah, that's right, because we never go ahead and do actually other stuff. So this is the moment, and it only costs us an hour, but there we are. So what we can do now is basically uncomment our merge map, and this thing is going to look very similar. And one nice thing about similar code is at some point you can think about how to abstract it.
Right.
But there's always going to be some similarity. And so in the artist API, this should now be artist top tracks.
Right.
And then this doesn't exist, but then data here, this will be artist. I'm tempted to just call this one data, because it's always ever going to be data, and just shortcut it like this. But let's keep it.
No, that's fine. Maybe just code data. I can change to that.
So that's that, and then we can create actually this method here. Get artist object. It already exists. Okay, that's super cool. That is super cool. Which means that we can go back here, change this to the artist object full. This is no longer artist object full. This is artist tracks.
Respond.
And then data here should at some point artist object response. There you go. This should now load, and this should work. I honestly, if we talk about abstracting it away, I don't think I would abstract this away further. I kind of like these things. You don't want to hide it all too much. We're going to wait the recompilation here.
Let's see the hard module as well.
Yeah. And this is also where Prettier can say, oh, you know what, I'm going to put it all in one line. And you know what, I'm going to remove the braces here. And all of a sudden your tab is just only one line. Again, it's all personal preference, or a lot of this is personal preference. I'm very much like, okay, you know what, I don't need any other thing here. So my error handler can just be one line. Probably if I save it, it stays on one line. So that's that, and then we're gonna go here.
Let's go again.
Damien. I just did it again. Pick one of the items here. Pick the item here, and then top tracks is an error bad request.
Oh.
Missing country parameter. Ha.
Oh, wow.
Country parameter. Turns out, who knew top tracks are different per country? Well, that's kind of makes sense if you think about it.
Oh, yeah. It's very intuitive. That's API good.
Now, initially, you'll be like, this is not cool, because this is not cool. But on the other hand, if you think about it, if you have your user, because I sneaked peek in here right a few minutes ago when I saw this, when we were waiting, it turns out country is on the user. I think this is your billing country or your registration country. And in fact, I cannot add my wife to my Spotify because like her account is in Colombia, your account is in the Netherlands, you cannot live together. Well, surprise, we do, but Spotify doesn't like it. So so one thing is, does your user object also live in a component store?
Yeah, I think it is. It is inside the auth store, I think. You can look for it.
So one thing you could consider doing, and I'm also curious about Chow's opinion here, is passing your auth store here as well.
Should be all right.
and figuring out a way to cleanly add these ones to your artist load artist top tracks. So it's basically handled here.
I think yeah, it should be okay.
Chow, what do you think?
Sorry, I didn't pay attention. Well, what's
Okay.
up?
So for the country, it turns out for top tracks you need a country.
Okay.
So country parameter. Now country lives on your user, which lives in your user state. Right here. So I was suggesting one way to fix it is to add your auth store here in your top tracks. Add it off of there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yep. Always
And
happy.
it is even better to have the auth store to expose a country selector.
It has already.
Okay,
Like,
and that's good.
Okay. And okay, so cool. Yeah. So we're gonna go to top tracks here. I'm gonna say private, and actually I'm gonna because you kind of let me do my own thing. My best practices here. I'm always injecting private read-only. Thanks to Alex for teaching me that read-only auth store is auth store.
seems like it's work very efficient with something else than VS Code, because usually I just cannot get the auto import for some reason. It's just super weird. I have to do it.
But it's definitely VS Code's issue, and it's
True.
not its strong suit. But
All right. So Tron, I'm a GDE now, so I can get JetBrains for free. I can donate you a JetBrains license if you like.
Sure. Maybe I switch to WebStorm then. Oh my God.
But also, if you calculate the daily price for WebStorm, it's like 16 cents in US dollar.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I think if you're a professional developer and you cannot spend 16 cents a dollar, you need to negotiate your salary.
No, it's I think I'm good to switch to WebStorm. It's just I try it because basically VS Code doesn't work well for me, but I didn't get used to all of the shortcut and everything, so I was lazy.
Yeah,
with that.
it does take time to learn.
Yeah, that's in general, things like these take time to learn. Now, one of the things I'm not sure, and I'm glad that Chow is on because I would not know how to do it. Now we're into the position where we need to pass in two things here. So one more or less imperative way would be...
Yep. What I would do is, so the auth store should have the data already. So what I would do is just do with latest form.
Yeah, okay.
In the load artist top tracks.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So in the artist type tracks here before this one, we're going to say with latest from. Yeah. And yeah, I agree. And this is also what we've been up to and what we've been doing. Now, definitely, if you switch editors, but also if you switch browsers even, it can be very, very small things. I switched from Brave and Chrome browsers that I used for years to Firefox as a daily driver. Like, for instance, popping open your DevTools is another shortcut, and it took me weeks to get used to it. I still make the mistake daily, and that's it. But also, you could say like, oh, you know what? Just change the defaults, and that's not what I would recommend. I would always recommend learn to be agile and learn to be quick in learning new stuff.
Yep.
That's definitely the best advice I could give you. And I'm going to pop in country here plainly. Another one of the things you always want to do, learn using your context menu. So right now, I just added country here as a second parameter. And now WebStorm says, hey, I don't have this method. Learn the context menu, change the signature. It will update it. And now if we go here, it will have added country, and we're going to make it a string.
All right. And I think we need to pass a param or something. Let me look into the API. And let top track. Oh, so the query param is gonna be market, and just send the country. Is it? Yeah, it should be okay. It should be the same. Or you can.
What? Because
market is it? The market. Instead of country, they call it market.
Market.
Yeah, market.
Interesting.
And it is required. Yep, to yep.
And interesting that the error message says country needs to be set, and then if you look at the API parameter, it's like, yeah.
I know it is so weird.
I'm curious about a potential fix for this refresh thing, and I'm not sure. I need to understand better why this works. But here you go. We have loading tracks. I'm gonna put this thing onto the side here. But okay, nice. So yeah, it was all a bit of a hassle to get here, but I think we're onto something nice. So we have data.tracks over which we can do a ng4 and then take a look at how all of these work. So gonna be going back to this one. So this is a very common thing that I do. It's ng container for the ngIf. I also tend to do ng containers for my looping. I like ng containers for doing stuff that doesn't get rendered, which sure, that's what they have. So let's say let track of vm.data and then track here, and I think it's vm.data.tracks.
Right, I think.
It's not an ngIf, this is an ng4.
That's 4.
And I'm also always, anything that I plug off the store is going to be doing with question mark, just to be safe.
Yep.
Going to get rid of the hello here. Now, one of the things that I'm not really happy about with VS Code on this moment has to do, so VS Code doesn't use Angular language service. It has its own language service. Now, this is nice for a lot of reasons. This is the reason why you have exactly the same type completion inside this inline template as inside this external template. It has no difference. Whereas with VS Code, if you want to do inline templates, you need to install a plugin, and this plugin will kind of emulate the same behavior, but it's not the same. And it's kind of going to like, meh, it's not the same thing. A lot of VS Code users don't like inline templates, I guess for that reason, because you don't have proper type completion. Now with the new language server they got out, which is available today on VS Code as an extra plugin, I think it's called the Ivy language server, you get all this stuff.
Oh, okay. I think.
But when I was with with Alex from the Angular team on one of the live streams, and he was like, yeah, we get all this stuff. And I was like, but we already have this in WebStorm. It's like, yeah, but they have their own language server. That's all super nice. One of the things that's not nice is that currently this is broken, so it doesn't properly type what is going in here. And I need to make an issue for this because I got a repro, but I think
it's fixed.
You think so?
Because I've been using it and it is inferred correctly for me.
Interesting. Then I might not be up to date. That might be the reason. But this is what we get back. So this is all of our top tracks right now, and I'm gonna put it out here and do this here for a second. And another thing I tend to do is if I want to inspect a JSON object, I'm just going to pass it in my source code, define a temporary variable, so I can just take a look at it in my editor where I actually need it. So I don't need to switch back and forth in my browser. Just, again, sharing a few tricks here that I like to use. So top tracks, it's coming from an album. I think we don't need to render the artist because we're on the artist page, so we can probably freely ignore it. It's type track. This is the name of the track. And maybe I should just open my Spotify just to see what it looks like on there. Or can you tell me what it looks like? Is it the name of the track with duration, or is it?
So there's an album cover on the left side.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing is always there's an index number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's we know it, and then there's an album cover, and then it's next to the cover is going to be the name of the track, and next to it is going to be a column like how many times it has been played. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure in the data we have it, and then the last one is the duration.
Nice.
I don't think we have the number of plays track there.
So it looks like a few things that I see. So we have track number here. We have name. So let's move these all the way up. We probably want to do something with the ID so we can actually select it.
Sorry, just want to ask, the track number is not actually the track number, I think. It is basically just the order of the track in the array, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree that's the most likely one. Popularity, preview URL, interestingly enough.
Oh yeah, that is like for the one with 30 seconds. So I was talking to the guy, like if I wanted to build the playable Spotify for a free user, I can use this pre-URL thing. But it's just for only 30 seconds. That's it.
Yeah, right. It's the audio preview basically.
Yeah.
So it's name, ID, track number, duration we have. Disk number is probably not interesting. Explicit's not interesting. Artist, we're on the artist page, so we're there. External ID. So yeah, I think with these properties we can get it. No, we don't need album either.
Oh, album we need. I think we need to get the cover, the image from the album.
I think they are. Let me quickly move back. See, it already reloaded. Let's add some data here, and yeah, you're right. Album cover. Album dot
There's
images.
an image.
Yeah.
I'll just always take the first one. I'm not sure it's a good way to do it, but I was just too lazy.
It's the largest one, so that's kind of, yeah.
Kind of what?
It's going to be the large one. That's kind of large, but it's like 640 pixels.
Right.
So, yeah. I am judging you, man. I am judging you.
No worries.
So we're going to have a div here, and these are the properties I'm actually interested about. So we're going to just say track dot this one, name, duration, and
that's it. Oh, like the album.
You have Tailwind on board?
I have, yeah.
Yes, awesome.
It is.
I love Tailwind. So I would probably make like some sort of faux column, maybe even just divs. Put this in a div, and this in a div, and this one in a div. And then say, what are we going to say here? Class equals flex, justify between. And I think justify between, and the track name is going to be the flex grow.
Right.
And
should be the one.
Item center here.
Right.
So they horizontally align. And this should give us something that looks like a playlist. And I'm also going to get rid of the track debugging thingy here. And I'm just going to do vm.data.tracks so we can still take a look at it when it renders. So cool. Bunch of errors, I hope. Hop module reloading, but I think actually, yeah, it's HMR. It should be hot module, but it's not doing it correctly. Now we can go back here if it's loading.
Duration. Maybe it's... okay.
It doesn't live on track object full now. Okay.
No, I think it's duration _ms. Yeah, it is a millisecond thing.
You're totally right, man. You're totally right.
Yeah, I have a pipe to just transform it. But
what pipe do you use to transform it?
Under duration.
Okay.
Yeah, just name duration. Then you can import it with your editor. VS Code, no chance.
yeah, no, but it's all these kind of things, and it comes from Moments. I don't think it comes from Moments.
No.
So, import duration pipe module. It does understand it, but it's all these kind of things where I think it makes total sense to just go through it a week or two and just force yourself, uninstall the other thing.
Yeah.
And
think so.
but yeah, I mean, in computer land, editor wars are one of the oldest wars that are there. People are always complaining. Like Vim and Emacs was the classic editor war when I was young, long time ago.
Oh,
Okay, it's not building. I'm gonna quickly check here. It doesn't like it. Web artist track module already declared. Yeah, this is normally when I first start to do a rebuild, and
that's
just
right.
gonna do it like that.
Is it? Oh, it seems like everyone got it sometime. One is why. When I
We all have it. Some I don't know, man. I don't know. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not you. That's good to
Okay.
know.
It's good to know.
It's not a personal thing, but also like a lot of other stacks have the same thing. I think the order of fixes is you're first going to restart your dev server. If that doesn't fix it, you're going to nuke node modules and do a new npm install. If that doesn't work, you're going to look on like Twitter or Discord or somewhere, Google. Find out.
You try restart the computer.
Yeah, restart it. If you're on Windows, you're going to restart your computer. That's the biggest downside of using a Mac or using a Linux system. It doesn't fix if you restart. The error stays. It's like, I'm super cynical today. I don't know why, but so one of the other things, as long as we're about habits and we still have some time waiting for this thing to occur. So okay, this by itself, this task runner. This task runner, people are like, yeah, I open terminal and I run it. Yeah, sure. A task runner, you can go there with a keyboard shortcut. You can interact with the thing using a keyboard shortcut. So you can say Command 4, which gets you to this editor, Command R, which restarts the thing.
Oh.
So two shortcuts, Command 4, Command R. Instead of going with the shortcut to your editor, then doing Control C, arrow up, enter. It's like 75% more shortcuts. 75% more handling. And this is the way how I like to think about code, because it's all about micro optimizations and doing these kind of things. And then even if you're fancier and you're doing stuff like debugging mode, which I'm not going to torture my computer right now, but if you would, you can say, hey, this start script, actually, I want to run this, but debug it for me. So now it will start it up in debug mode, and VS Code will, WebStorm will understand this debugger, and it can actually be smart where it puts actually inline in your editor the value of a variable, value of a constant. And if you want to see it in action, go check the component store session where Chow and I do testing of a component store. Chow explains to me how I should test, which I still haven't really got to. I didn't have time. Too busy with the Kin Foundation to do testing. But yeah, the tools are there, and this is like, these are the super powerful things you should definitely consider using.
That's right. Yeah, I think it's important, like when you look like how other is doing, like writing code and using the stuff, because it just personally, when you get used to something, you just don't know about the other thing. You just like get used to it, and then when you see other do it, wow, it's like open the new world.
Yeah, totally. And actually, I learned to appreciate WebStorm by watching Egghead videos way back, like 2013, 2014. And there's one of the founders of Egghead, John Lindquist. He was a big fan and user, and I think even developer advocate for JetBrains. And he would just have sessions, how to use your editor properly. And when I saw it, it was like, mind is blown. Before that, I was using Sublime Text, which didn't have anything.
Wow, it's even too extreme.
So another thing, we all use Git. There's no excuse not to use Git, but few of us use partial commit. If you've never used a partial commit, check this out. Git add, because most people say, I'm just going to do a commit, and most people say git add dot, or they do git commit am. This it works, but this now you take everything, and now you have to wait until it's up in GitHub. So first thing I want to do, I'm on main branch, so I'm going to say Beeman top tracks. So give your branch a good name, and I'm going to say git add -p, and p allows you to do a partial commit, which means it will present you snippets of text of changes, and you can either add them, delete them. Well, there's a whole bunch of things you can do. You can use the question mark here and it will appear right here. You have various options. Yes is to stage this. Yes is you say, okay, I want to have this. No is I don't want to have this. The other ones you frequently use are add all, and Q is get out of the thing. S, you can split them up in smaller chunks. So in this case, it will tell you which file you're in. So you're now AngularJSON. AngularJSON, you're most likely always gonna accept whatever they decide for you. Yeah, everything. Now here, just config same. So basically what I call your SDK files, always gonna accept it because NX handles it for you. We did add this one to the store. Now here's a good example where you're like, okay, actually, I'm not happy with this change because I left in comments, I left in the word top tracks, which should not be here. But here we can do a split. So we can say split it up. First part, are we happy with this part? Yes, I'm happy with this part. Happy with this part? Yes. Happy with this part? Happy with this part? Nope. And we can later go back to see why this is useful. But for now, this is it. Okay, so we want to import this module right here. This is our API, artist API. So check out again. It does load. It showed the file right here. So if you don't recognize it, you want to say file name. Sure. Here again, we could do a split. I'm going to accept. Well, this change, do I want to accept it? Actually, no, it's not a change. It's just something that my editor did. Because it's this change, I don't want it. This change, I don't want it because it's code I didn't intend to touch. This change, yes, I want to do this change. So new line. This also has to do with formatting.
Yeah.
And NXJSON is your file, is SDK. So now you can check Git status again. And actually, all the green stuff is already ready to be committed. The red stuff in the second part, so this part right here, these are changes that I ignored. Basically, I said on some piece of the artist page, I said no. Some piece of the artist API, I said no. Now, untracked files, these are new files. You generally want to add these if you're building out features. So I can just say, okay, add me everything that's in web artist UI. Using git add here, so I'm just going to write it full out. Git add this one. Again, git status. It added all the UI stuff. That's good. This is also my new artist store. I also want to add this one because I intend to do that all. But this is kind of a helper for me that says, hey, I'm going to be selective about what I want to commit yes and no. And I know I need to check into these two red files here. So let's do this right now. I'm going to check out here, artist API. So in here, I'm not interested in this change. I'm not interested in this change. And not interested in this change. I only want to do this. So, okay, nice cleanup. And in my artist component HTML, before I go on, I'm just going to move out these out of the way. Going to back to my terminal, and then I'm going to say another partial edit. And here I'm going to say, okay, now I am happy with this file. So yes to this one, and I'm also happy with this. Bear with the editor that's screwing up that thing. But yeah, learn how to do partial commits. It's way easier to do a partial commit. I like the command line, but a lot of tools have it graphical as well.
Yep. I was mostly use VS Code UI, I think.
VS what? Yeah.
VS Code. There's a tab you go in. I mean, I also like checking line by line what I did because I just cannot do the commit without really look into it. But yeah, I just mostly do the UI.
And actually, there's also there is a very good UI here for Git as well. It's just that I'm not used to it.
Yeah.
But I want to show you other thing, and I'm not trying to sell it to you, but I do think you should go into Chow's offer and have him get it to you. Now, we all know and love Git because it allows you to go back in history.
Yep.
But it doesn't fix the thing where you're coding for 1 or 2 hours and not making a commit, and then like, oh man, an hour ago it was working, but I got myself into something and I don't want it anymore.
Yep.
This probably happens to all of us. So what JetBrains allows you to do is actually have a local history. And this local history, you can check the time. Right now, it's 22:36 at my computer. This is a minute ago. And a minute ago, it allows you to switch back in time for our whole session. So we could see that I created this file right here. We could say that 50 minutes ago, these were the files I changed. Now, the implementation of this is actually a Git repo, and it auto commits on each save. So each save that you make in your editor, it makes an auto commit for you. And you can restore and go back, and you can figure actually out, show the difference. What was my thing I did in this moment, and what's the moment in time? So having a local Git history that auto commits for you to go back, this saved my butt hundreds of times. And just because I know it was working half an hour ago. I'm not crazy. No, you're not. And that
It
works.
just happened. Yeah, it just happened sometime.
It happens too often. And like even before, when right now I'm trying to do the right thing. So small features, commit often, push often. So you don't lose work. But we've probably all lost work because of some stupid mistake doing this. And
Yeah.
So let's go here and let's go here. And now we at least have our top tracks. And so one thing I'm curious about is like, hey, this track index number. What was it again? This
track number.
Track number.
Yeah.
Can it be that it's track number of the CD of the album?
I think so. That was I thought that's what my get.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
and that way you can probably use that in the UI to get them to the right track in the album or something. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Then it's like when you play an album, when you play a track in the album, you don't say I wanted to play this track. You say I wanted to play this album in this offset.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, as I remember,
Right, so let's then quickly fix this one and just take the iterator over here. So let's say I is index, I think. Then here we're just going to say I plus 1. And this should load in our list with the right order. And I'm going to get rid of this one.
Yeah, okay.
And okay, so we got a whole lot of things that we looked at and discussed today. I think the main takeaway, and I'm glad that I remembered this was the right way to do it, but component stores can inherit from each other, and this is probably one of their most powerful features.
Yep.
And this allows you to do fancy things, like when we needed the country, it was one line here and one line here, and then update basically the rest of our API to get this thing. And I really like this way of thinking about it. And what I also like is how these components turn out. Now, one thing that I probably need to get used to, because I do think this is a clean pattern. One thing that I do need to get used to is that now one of your UI components initiates a call to the API. And that doesn't really make them dump or just presentational. I think but yeah, is it the component that does it, or can you say, yeah, but it's not the components itself. It just expects some state to be there, and it happens to be calling out to the API. I don't know. I would use this, and I would be happy with this. And actually, in React land, if I work with React, I see myself doing these kind of things all the time. So it might be in my head where I think it's a violation, but it's actually just a good pattern. So now we're here, and then we have 1 to 10 AAA.
Awesome. Then,
awesome.
Yeah, I think the rest of the stuff we will leave it as the exercise for all of our viewers today. I mean, it's good. Like we build up the foundation. You have a data. Yeah. Now you just need to plug in the album, the play button so that it can play. This is good exercise, I think.
But I also, I definitely agree, and I think it's very similar to this one.
Yeah, exactly. Just exactly the same.
with the difference that this one has an artist, which if you're on the artist detail page, you probably don't need it.
Yeah.
If we look at Spotify, and it has the album image here next to the play button, I think. But
Right.
yeah, but possibly this is a nice reusable component that has two modes, either artist mode or album mode. I'm not sure, man.
I think so. That's what I thought as well. But at the moment, it's locating inside the album thing. So
Right. Yeah.
it is good to have another live stream to split it out.
I'm happy to join, man. I'm happy to join.
Okay, sure.
It's been a pleasure. I'm gonna do a commit here, a partial commit here, and for me it's a habit. I'm just gonna do partial commits always,
Yeah.
even if you know you're gonna do it all. It's the amount of times I got an error out of this, or a console log, or something that I didn't want. Actually, the pre thing I do all the time. You don't want to commit that. So git commit message, and then do you do scoped commits like this?
Yeah, I usually do it, but inside the feed, I just don't really follow like feeds. And this is it
Scope.
the routes? Yeah, something like feed. I didn't really follow it. I think it's a good to do though. But
Yeah, I don't do it either generally.
okay.
I use this the feed definitely, and I use it mostly because if you do a change log, it will group them. So you have features, bug fixes, and breaking changes, probably in the other order. But yeah, I generally don't scope.
Okay, sure. I think we.
So add top tracks list to artist detail page, and this is gonna be it. So again, here it's also shortcuts that I'm using: GCMSG, git commit message. It's actually coming from Z shell, and it has a whole bunch of this G everything. So it only has all the shortcuts. One of the most loved is the Git, this one. You have probably once in your life said Git push, set upstream origin, blah, blah, and Git gives you the line and you copy paste it blindly.
Yes.
I did that for years. And now, this is when you do Git push on a new branch, it will tell you this. Yeah.
Right.
Or you use GP sub, it will do it for you. And I cannot
okay.
do this. So, hub fork.
Oh,
I'm just going to fork it for you. I'm very terminal driven. So if I cannot do something with the terminal, I'm not going to be happy about it. And awesome. I'm going to call this origin. This one. Origin, and I'm going to call yours upstream.
Yep.
And actually, there's also command lines to do this, but I find it easier to do this. And I'm now going to do a git push up. So now it will push to my branch. And now what I want to do next is create a pull request. So I'm going to say hub pull request against the main branch. And I hope this will do the right thing, but I'm not really sure. Yeah. And here you say it will request a pull request. So I'm not sure because I don't think. Let's get this one out. Porting, because I think I need to tell the pull request that it goes to another origin. Pretty sure. Well, in any case, if you can't figure it out, what I then always do, base owner master. Yeah, I think I can do trunk A18. That's the
and Spotify something. Oh,
I think I can do this. Artist top tracks.
Yep.
Invalid hat. So next thing is okay. I'm just gonna go hub browse, and I'm gonna do this manually. But always try I always try to default to the terminal for any of these things. And hub, the command line utility hub is great.
Okay, I didn't know.
And also Git has their own command line utility since a few months. And just going to be creating a pull request here. Nice. I added something to the Angular Spotify app. I didn't break it. I thought I would break it.
Awesome.
No, I didn't.
Awesome. I'll look into it. I think I will do the merge very soon. And yeah, I think the rest is gonna be a nice exercise for everyone who is still watching, or anyone is like interesting to contribute to the Spotify repository.
I hope Chow soonly fixes the thing with the refresh, because it really so I think
Yeah.
maybe next week I'll be around to check it out. No, I'm kidding, man. I would love to be on another day, trying to have another session. I really enjoyed doing this live code.
Sure, yeah. We also learn a lot from you, and yeah, it's always good to have other to share about this experience. Because if you watch me do live stream, it's like I was like needs this component, so I need to go back and then import the module and then put it into the import array, and wow, it was a mess. It's like taking a lot of time. That's why my live stream was way longer. But yeah, anyway, thanks for a lot of tips today. And
More than welcome.
Everyone is still stay until now. Thank you so much for spending the Saturday morning in Asia time zone and Friday night in the
Americas.
Is it like South? Yeah, America time zone. Thanks so much.
Yeah, it's South America, and the whole region, I think, is the Americas. Yeah.
Yep. Thank you so much. And with that, I'll see you next time then. How do I click the button?
Bye.